mother's bedroom floor. There'll be services on Friday.
The best in college rock.
Nah.
Leading off and in the host seat, he's no longer the sports director, but that doesn't mean you got rid of him. He's the dictionary definition of a five-tool player. If those tools are bad takes, being loud, constantly late, and defending the Reds until the day he dies. Standing 6'2" on a really good day. Weighing a $160 soaking wet, here's Shea Neal. Batting second, he's like the leadoff hitter but with less patience. He constantly confuses matches for games. He's a two-time self-awarded baseball coach of the year, which he will tell you constantly. He might be the worst office basketball player in WWSU history, literally. Standing 5'10", weighing maybe 130, here's Parker Testa. Alright, now that those BS intros are out of the way, let's get on with the show.
My favorite intro of all time, I might add. But welcome to Keep It Real with Testa and Neal right here on WWSU 106.9 FM and our brand new WWSU 106.9 YouTube channel. So welcome if you're joining us for the first time on that YouTube channel. I mean, I'm excited. We're launching it off. We're launching new logos. We're not launching new social media branding. I mean, it's beautiful days here at WWSU, and we're glad you joined us for the ride.
Sure are. I mean, I know it's been kind of awkward the last couple of days using the Perspectives YouTube channel, but we have our own now, and
We have stations that we use.
We're very excited for it.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, today, as promised yesterday, today is going to be all about, well, at least the first hour is going to be all about the NFL. The schedule came out last night. I am excited to break this down. We're going to pick about 2 or 3 games from every week of the season that we are excited about as the season goes on. All, 18 weeks now. That's new. And we'll do weeks 1 through 6 in the first 20 minutes, weeks 7 through 12, and then weeks 13 through 18. You get it. But I'm excited. Hour number two, we're going to get into a little bit of NBA playoffs talk. The Knicks made the playoffs. The Knicks made the playoffs.
How long has it been since we've heard that? Like
since Melo was born?
10 years?
I don't know.
Melo was born.
Did you see the tweet where it was like in 2014 or whatever, it was this little kid named Cody, and he said Cody's Christmas wish, the Knicks make the playoffs. And the Knicks tweeted last night a pic of that, and they said, Cody, your wish finally came true. And then they found like 23-year-old Cody. He retweeted it, and he said, little late, pal. But no, the Knicks made the playoffs. In baseball, the Reds did everything they possibly could to lose a series to the Pirates, but they did walk out of there with 2 out of 3. They take on the Rockies tonight. Oh, they did get very lucky. They're lucky that Jesse Winker's the best player on the planet right now.
Yes.
But a lot of baseball going on. I know the Cardinals and Brewers just kicked off about 9 minutes ago. That's a great NL Central battle. Corbin Burns is back on the mound today, so we'll keep you up to date on that. And I'm sure we'll find stuff to talk about as the show goes on.
We'll figure something out.
We spew about random crap every day.
Exactly.
So let's get into it because we got a lot of NFL to get into. So let's start off. We'll briefly hit on week 1. I know we talked about it a little bit yesterday because it got leaked early. But my favorite 3 games of week 1, I hope you agree with me. The first one is the first game of the season, Cowboys and Bucks. I really like this matchup. The reigning Super Bowl champs, Tom Brady, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. Of course, they bring back Jason Pierre-Paul. They bring back Shaq Barrett. They draft as well. What was his name? The dude out of Washington. Joe.
What team are you talking about? I'm sorry.
Joe the Bucks, who they took with the last pick of the first round.
Oh, it was
Joe something. Tyron?
Some lineman.
Joe Tyron or something like that. He was an outside linebacker.
That's right. I don't know.
That's so embarrassing. I walked into this thinking I knew his name.
Name a better combination than
Joe
us.
Joe Tryon.
Okay.
There it is. I said Joe Tyron. That's pretty close.
Name a better combination than us and being unprepared.
I don't know.
Exactly.
Us and not coming up with clever comebacks. But I'm excited about this. This Bucks team's obviously the reigning Super Bowl champs. I'm excited to see how they look in week 1.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see kind of the new look, not really the new look Cowboys, but the back to the playoff caliber Cowboys of Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup. And then on defense, Micah Parsons, Leighton Vander Esch is finally back and healthy. Jalen Smith is healthy. And then they've also got, a lot of impact players, DeMarcus Lawrence. This Cowboys team, I don't think they're as good as the Bucks, but I do think they are good enough to get into the playoffs if they can stay healthy. So this could be an interesting maybe. It's crazy to say about week 1, but this could be 2 teams that we end up seeing in January.
Yeah, no doubt. We obviously know how good Tampa is. Whenever Tom Brady's your quarterback, you always got a shot at the Super Bowl.
No doubt.
It's just a fact. So there's plenty of. There's no telling how good Dallas is going to be. No idea how good Dallas is going to be. But this is like we talked about it yesterday. Quite possibly the best game of week number 1 on Thursday night.
Yeah, no doubt. The second game I want to talk about here in week 1 is the Cardinals and the Titans. We talked about this yesterday. It's kind of a sleeper pick for game of the week. The new look Cardinals, J.J. Watt. Of course, another year 2 of D-Hop, Kyler Murray. They went out and got James Conner, who I think is going to be a nice addition with Chase Edmonds. As well as, Buda Baker. As well as they lose Pat Pete, but they get a very talented linebacker in Zaven Collins, who's going to start at middle linebacker day 1. It's a team with a lot of potential. It's a team with a lot of high, and if they can answer a couple questions, it's a team that could really win the NFC West. And they go up against a really strong Titans team that's well coached, well disciplined, and has Derrick Henry, who might be the best running back on the planet.
Yeah, no doubt. Being a Colts fan, every time Derrick Henry comes to town, I'm terrified. And of course, the one game I go to, he runs for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, which
I lost in fantasy because of that. Thank you. I was the 1 seed, and then Derrick Henry decided to run all over the Colts defense and make me lose money. But okay.
Yeah, that was not a good day for the Colts. But we're going to talk about this for the whole entire first hour. So there's plenty to dive into here. Game. I mean, we talked a lot about this game yesterday. Browns Chiefs.
This is my favorite game of week 1.
Yeah, no doubt. It's up there. I mean, I'm intrigued with this Dallas Tampa Bay game, but Browns Chiefs is right up there as one of the best games of the week.
I think the Browns got better, and the Browns were a strong team that won a playoff game a year ago. I think the Browns are the favorites in the AFC North. I do. I think they're.
I would agree.
If I had to pick right now today, I'd pick the Browns to win the division. I think Baker Mayfield's better than people give him credit for. I think Chubb and Hunt might be the best running back duo in the league, and a great law firm if they ever decide to go into that. Chubb and Hunt, attorneys at law.
Yes.
Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry, David Njoku, Austin Hooper, Harrison Bryant. The weapons are off the charts. They get Jack Conklin. They get Jedrick Wills, Wyatt Teller, Joel Bitonio. It's such a good offense. And then on defense, they go out and they add Jadeveon Clowney. They go out and they add, they bring back Myles Garrett fully healthy, Denzel Ward. They go out and draft Greg Newsome. They go out and draft Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. It's a team with so much potential to be great. And
sure is.
It's the best Browns roster of my lifetime. That's not saying a lot, but it's really a team that could win 12 or 13 games.
You really think so?
I do.
Wow.
It's 12-5 in the new 17-game season, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Browns went 12-5 and won the division.
Huh. Okay. I see him as a 10 or 11 win team. I don't see I don't see him getting over that hump of 12, 13 games, but they do.
They won
have,
11 last year.
The talent is that they were right around there.
I think they were 11
something
5
close.
last year.
The talent is definitely there for them to be that 12, 13 win team, like you said. Stefanski's definitely one of the best in the business
And that's
right
what
now.
I forgot to mention. Kevin Stefanski, one of the best up-and-coming coaches in the NFL.
No doubt about it. I mean, what he did last year. I mean, I think he if he didn't get COVID, and even with COVID, if there was no rules, he would be on the sideline for that playoff game.
Yeah.
So, like you said, one of the best up-and-coming coaches in football right now. There's plenty to go around. McVay. I guess he's kind of. Not really up-and-coming anymore, but
he's there. Yeah,
he's there.
He's at the top of the mountain. Yeah.
So guys like McVay, guys like Robert Saleh, guys like, I don't know, Brandon Staley in Los Angeles for the Chargers. I mean, who knows what he's going to do? But there's definitely plenty of potential for this Browns team.
All right, let's move on to week 2. The first game I popped off at me in week 2 is an AFC East matchup where I think it's a team that's the second best team in the AFC. Versus a team that I really think could make some noise this year because they're well coached, and if their young quarterback can take that next step, I think they're very, very good. That's Bills and Dolphins in Miami. This could be a statement from the Bills. Hey, we're better than everyone else, and nobody's coming. It's just us and the Chiefs. But if the Dolphins can pull off this upset, the Dolphins could be like, hey, we're not that far behind. And so this could be a very big early season test for both teams.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, we talk about up-and-coming coaches, awesome coaches. Brian Flores is in that conversation. And the Dolphins really haven't had a solid coach in a while.
No.
So Brian Flores definitely fits that mold. Who knows what Tua is going to do? I mean, he had his moments last year of being flashes of being good, but there's really no telling what Tua is going to do this year. So
maybe Waddle helps that out, but
possibly.
I mean,
they also added Jacoby Brissett in free agency.
They did,
so they have a backup plan.
You go into this season with Waddle, Devontae Parker, and Mike Gesicki. I mean, the weapons are there. There's no excuse for Tua at this point. You gotta if you're gonna be the 6th overall pick that everyone's praising to be, a star in the NFL, you got to start delivering now, and that includes winning home games against your division rivals.
Yeah, no doubt about it. There's always potential for young quarterbacks.
Yep.
Like I said, Tua has shown flashes of that, but you don't know. I mean, the thing that interests me about Tua is the left-handed thing. Your offense completely changes with a left-handed quarterback. Your right tackle is now the most important offensive lineman.
Yeah,
Instead of the left tackle, the ball comes out differently if you're a receiver. You have to go the other way if you're a running back. So it's an interesting dynamic with left-handed quarterbacks. But
and I think that's why they went out and attacked and got Liam Eichenberg in the second round.
Yeah,
I mean, they have Austin Jackson, but they've been kind of training Austin Jackson to play left tackle, and it's such a big transition to move from left side to right side.
So from what I've heard, the transition from right to left is like you're a right-handed golfer and you want to go out and play left-handed.
Yeah.
That's the comparison that I've heard on it.
Eichenberg played right tackle at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So it's not a huge transition for him. It's just learning NFL schemes.
Right.
Let's get on. Let's talk about your favorite team. I like their Week 2 matchup. It's a battle of new really good quarterbacks, I should say, that have been good in new locations.
Same faces in new places.
Right, exactly. Same faces in new places. Matt Stafford and the LA Rams come visit Carson Wentz and the Indianapolis Colts at Lucas Oil.
Yeah.
This could be a really good game. I think both of these teams could end up in the playoffs as well.
Yeah, they definitely could. I'm on a will see basis with Carson Wentz because, I mean, we saw how atrocious he was last year, but we also saw how great he was in 2017.
We don't know how much of that was the Eagles' fault, and we don't know how much of that was the Wentz's fault.
Right.
Yet.
So, and you host a Rams team that right now looks very good.
They do.
With the addition of Matt Stafford, that defense is still one of the best in football.
Cam Akers, Robert Woods, Cooper
Right?
Kupp.
Yeah. So that it's definitely a tough. I mean, the Colts are they have tough tests early, and then eventually I think week 12, Tom Brady and Bruce Arians and the Bucks come to town, and visit
You don't
the Colts
play
there.
in Tampa Bay.
Exactly. But there's just, I mean, so many different great games. I mean, here's an interesting one in week 2. Bears Bengals in Chicago.
Yeah.
That's a sneaky good game.
Dalton gets to play his old team. The Bengals, I saw an interesting tweet yesterday that I agree with. Either the Bengals fans are going to be like jumping in the streets after week 6, or Zach Taylor is going to be fired by week 7, because the way their schedule starts, it's very definitely it's 6 winnable games in the first half. The Vikings at home, I think that's winnable. The Bears on the road, that's winnable. Pittsburgh with, Big Ben, not the same guy that he was, and their offensive line weak. That's a winnable game, even in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they'd be favored. I'm saying it's winnable. Jacksonville at home, winnable. Green Bay, if they don't have Rodgers, that should be a game that you win.
Yeah.
Detroit, winnable. Baltimore, probably not winnable. Jets, winnable. That's 7 winnable games in the first 8. And if the Bengals go into that, bye week in week 7 at 2-4, 2-5, I don't think Zach Taylor makes it out of the bye week. I think that they got to strike while the iron's hot. The NFL gifted them a pretty light and favorable front half of the schedule. They got to get off to a good start because that back half is brutal.
Yeah, no doubt about it. There's definitely, I think I saw that the Dolphins have one of the toughest schedules in football next year. So they're gonna put Flores and company to the test down there in Miami. They want to see what Tua can do. They want to see how tested they are. And if that's a team that comes out of that division with that schedule with 10 or 11 wins, got to give Flores credit.
And it's also going to be the first big test of the year for the Bengals, going back to that Bengals-Bears game. On the offensive line, how much better they've gotten under Frank Pollock, because you're going to have Jonah Williams, Riley Reif, and Jackson Carman, their second-round pick, trying to block Khalil Mack, who's one of the best in the league. So we'll see if Joe Burrow can stay upright, because if Joe Burrow can stay upright, I think he can beat that Bears team.
I think he can too. And really, you don't know at that point. I mean, who knows? Maybe Justin Fields is playing quarterback at this point.
Who knows?
You don't know.
You don't.
If Andy Dalton comes out and he plays atrociously,
Or he gets hurt.
yeah. I mean, there's you don't know until it happens.
Yep.
So
let's get to week 3.
Yeah.
2 of the most exciting quarterbacks in the NFL, and I don't think that's up for debate. Chargers and Chiefs at Arrowhead. Herbert versus Mahomes. That's a fun one.
Sure is. Herbert looked very, very strong last year with a terrible offensive line. They added Slater in the draft. I think they've added a few free agency pieces. So, and to see Herbert put up the numbers that he did last year with a bad offensive line, I can't wait to see what he does this year. I'm so excited to watch Herbert. Kind of pissed me off that he cut his fantastic hair, but that's not my decision. But he was strong.
He looks like a
last year.
middle schooler now. I don't like
He does.
it.
He looks like a 12-year-old
He
kid.
just looks like, that sophomore that's starting on varsity. He doesn't look like an NFL quarterback anymore.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the Chargers are one of the more exciting teams. They have a new coach.
Keenan Allen, Mike Williams.
Yeah.
It's a good team.
Yeah.
Austin Eckler's back. Joshua Kelly. with a defense that features Melvin Ingram, Joey Bosa, Casey Hayward, it's a good team.
Here's an interesting one in week 3. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens pay visit to Jared Goff's Lions at Ford Field in Detroit.
Like it.
That's an interesting one.
It is, because I think this Lions team under Dan Campbell could be a very aggressive and disciplined team. And Lamar Jackson struggles when pressure's put on him.
Yeah.
And if the Lions could have any pulse of a pass rush this year, that could be a game that's kind of a trap game for Baltimore. I think a lot of people are writing the Lions off, but I really like their coaching staff. I really like their front office. Now it's just about the talent on the field.
Yeah. They added Sewell in the draft,
Still
which is
Trey Flowers,
which
don't
is
they?
one of the more. Yeah, I think so.
I think so too.
Which is I think I said it in our draft review. I think Sewell is one of the safest picks in the draft, behind Trevor Lawrence. So
Well, and he's going to have to block.
and even then,
He's
you
gonna
don't
have to
know.
block Khalil Mack year 1, so he's going to have to ball out right off the bat.
Yeah, no doubt about it. This one's interesting too. The Sunday night game, week 3, Packers visit the 49ers in Santa Clara.
Now, if Rodgers is playing, that's a great game.
Sure
It's
is.
the Niners defense against the Packers offense with Rodgers and Adams. But if
Yeah.
Rodgers isn't playing, I would be very disappointed in the Niners if they didn't win that game handily.
Right. Yeah.
Because I think the Niners personally are a top 3 team in the NFC. I think a lot of people wrote them off because of all the injuries last year. I think that defense is really good. The only thing that's really holding them back, quote unquote, is Garoppolo. But Garoppolo probably won't be the quarterback the whole season this year. It's really just about, hey, is Trey Lance as good as we think this guy is? Because we've heard that he might be the second coming of Josh Allen. And if he's that Niners team's going to win a couple Super Bowls in the next couple of years.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Right now, I think this is Jimmy G's team to lose. It's
I would agree. I
an
think the only 2
interesting scenario.
quarterbacks maybe Mac Jones, but I think the only 2 quarterbacks that are locked to start week 1 are Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's an interesting, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, scenario, I guess, with all these new quarterbacks coming out, and they're all coming into systems where, with the exception of Lawrence and Wilson, they're coming into systems where they have the ability to grow behind starters that are already there.
Yeah. And I mean, they all have, quality guys to learn from, where Mac Jones has Cam Newton, who had a bad year last year, but Cam Newton's won an MVP. Cam
Right.
Newton's been to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Trey Lance gets to learn behind Jimmy Garoppolo, who has had a solid, decent couple seasons, and he's learned from Tom Brady, so maybe he picked up a few things that he can pass along. And then who else am I forgetting? Justin Fields. He's behind Andy Dalton, who's been to the playoffs 6 times in his career. People roast Andy Dalton, but he's a career-winning quarterback.
Trey Lance is behind Jimmy G.
Exactly.
So it's a lot of there's lots of growth. I mean,
I don't think you could ask for much better guys to learn from than Garoppolo, Dalton, and Cam Newton.
no,
3
no.
guys that you can learn a ton from.
Yeah. And I know there's a lot of drama in Green Bay going on right now, but there's no better guy to learn from if you're Jordan Love than Aaron Rodgers.
And I think Rodgers said this last year, and I think he holds the same opinion, the same take. He may be frustrated with the front office. He may be frustrated with the organization, but he has never once taken it out on Jordan Love. If you saw some of their footage last year from training camps and OTAs, he probably was not happy about that they took Jordan Love in the first round.
No, I wouldn't.
But every single day, he was right next to Jordan Love, showing him stuff, teaching him stuff, showing him how to run the routes, run the plays. Aaron Rodgers, I don't think holds it against Jordan Love, and I think that if he's set on not playing for the Packers anymore, I think he'll put Jordan Love in the best position he possibly can.
Yeah, I think so too. The last week 3 game that I'm interested in is the NFC East rivalry, one of the best rivalries in football. The Sirianni and Hurts new regime in Philadelphia travel to Dallas to take on Dak and Mike McCarthy at Jerry World. So
Yep. I think the Cowboys are the better team in this game.
I think so too.
But I think the Eagles, if Jalen Hurts can be an average thrower of the football, this is the dude with the athleticism of Lamar Jackson.
Yeah,
honestly.
no doubt about it. We saw flashes of Hurts last year after Wentz got taken out for being
He was
atrocious.
just inconsistent. We saw
Yeah.
2 or 3 games where he looked like one of the 5 best quarterbacks in the league and like a future MVP in the league, and then we saw games where he completed 40% of his passes with 3 turnovers. So
Yeah.
you just don't know what you're going to get.
No, none at all. We are on YouTube today, our brand new WWSU 106.9 FM YouTube page. You can go on our Twitters or however you can find it. It's WWSU 106.9 FM.
Yep.
On YouTube, we you can tune in to.
We're working on getting the new logo up for that as well.
Yeah.
So it's exciting, no doubt about
Sure is. You can.
Week 4.
Yeah.
And this is one that's already been promoted. This is going to be the only time I think that I throw my favorite team, the Bengals, on this list because I'm trying not to be a homer. But it's Lawrence versus Bird.
This is interesting, especially
It's a
on
rematch
Thursday
of
night.
it's a rematch of the college football playoff from a couple years ago, and it's a first ever matchup of the last 2 number 1 overall picks, Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence. Even if I wasn't a Bengals fan, I'd be glued to the TV for this one.
I'm gonna be, and it's an interesting matchup here because this was the national championship game a few years back.
Mm-hmm.
So this is an interesting game here because no one knows how Urban Meyer and company are gonna fare down there in Jacksonville. Nobody knows. I want to see, even though I know I'm going to get a lot of crap for this from everyone, especially here in Dayton. I cannot stand Ohio State personally.
That's fair.
Growing up,
I love Ohio State, but I know that the fan base is obnoxious, and myself included.
But yeah, I mean, I'm rooting for Urban Meyer to do well in
Oh,
Jacksonville.
me too. I love Urban.
So this is an interesting game here.
There just better not be a team that plucks Ryan Day away because Ryan Day is elite. But no, I think the same argument can be made for the Bengals too. I mean, we don't know what to expect with Urban Meyer in Jacksonville. We really don't know what to expect with Zach Taylor and the Bengals because Zach Taylor's never won more than 4 games in a season.
This is another one that I'm going to be glued to.
Mm-hmm.
Tampa Bay and Bruce Arians travel to Gillette
Yup.
to take on Bills Patriots. The first time Tom Brady has played the Patriots since he left, and it's in Foxborough. How about that?
Mm-hmm. I mean, and they tell you the NFL isn't scripted. They did this on purpose.
Yeah.
They did this on purpose.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think this is a really cool matchup. I don't know if it's going to be Cam Newton or Mac Jones. I do think the Buccaneers are the better team, but I don't think the Patriots are a pushover team that a lot of people say they are.
No,
especially with Belichick on the sideline. As long as Bill Belichick is the coach of the New England Patriots, it's going to be a tough game to win. But I really like this matchup. I think Arians and Belichick are both top 5, maybe even top 3 coaches in the NFL.
Yeah.
And I mean, you don't have to talk me into watching Sunday Night Football every week, but I will definitely be making room in my schedule for this one.
Yeah. I think I really just tune in it depends on the game if I tune in to Sunday Night Football or not. I think I just tune into Sunday Night Football to watch Collinsworth just slowly.
Now here's a guy.
Here's a guy. But yeah.
Over under on how many times he says that this year. I'll set it at like 250.
I'll take the over.
Okay, I would too.
I'll take the over on anything you say.
Final game of Week 4 that I'm really interested in. Really, I mean, both the NFC West matchups in Week 4. I think the NFC West personally is the toughest division in football. Niners and Seahawks is a pretty cool matchup too, but I want to talk about Cardinals and Rams. Stafford in LA hosting Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. I think this could very well be the 2 best teams in the division, and I think this is going to be a heavyweight dogfight to start the year.
I think this is quietly going to be one of the game of the year picks.
Really good offenses.
2 really good offenses. 2
defenses with stars.
2 young, fantastic coaches going head to head.
I am so excited there's already been 2 years of it, but McVay versus Kingsbury twice a year. That's such a fun matchup.
It sure is, no doubt about it.
You also throw in Shanahan in that mix.
Yeah. I mean, the grandpa of that division is Pete Carroll,
and Pete Carroll's still a good coach.
Exactly. So yeah, I love this matchup. Kyler Murray, we saw what he did last year with D-Hop, and I expect more of the same this year. They still have Christian Kirk. They still have Andy Isabella. I think they signed they signed some running back in the offseason.
James Conner.
Yeah, that's it. Their defense is still strong with the addition of Zaven Collins. They still have Chandler Jones. They still have Hassan Riddick. They still have Isaiah Simmons, Budda Baker. I mean, you go down the list.
They add Watt.
Yeah. So there's sneaky good game here. I mean, the Rams still have a fantastic defense with Donald and Jalen Ramsey there. So it's an interesting matchup, no doubt.
Week 5. I hate to use the same division once again, but right after they play the Cardinals at home, Matt Stafford and the Rams head to the 12 on Thursday Night Football and battle Russell Wilson and the Seahawks. Another elite game out of the NFC West.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, the Seahawks didn't live up to expectations last year. They started out very strong. Russell Wilson carried my fantasy team last year, but they kind of fell off the table late last year in the second half. But I like this matchup a lot. I mean, the Rams are very intriguing to me right now.
I agree.
I mean,
They're one of my like 3 or 4 must-watch teams this year.
Yeah. That's another debate we can have later on in the show. But I like that matchup a lot. Another interesting one for me is in week 5 is another NFC West matchup, Cardinals 49ers.
I mean, if 2 NFC West teams are playing each other this year, you're going to want to watch it.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Who would we say is the worst team in the division right now? The Seahawks? And that team will still probably win 8-9 games.
I don't think that's a hot take to say the Seahawks are the worst team in that division based on just the talent.
Russell Wilson might be the best player in that division.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think even if the Seahawks come in last in the NFC West, I still think they win 8 or 9 games. That's just how good that division is.
Yeah, I think so. It's one of the best divisions in football right now. No doubt about it.
Here's 2 that caught my eye as well. Browns and Chargers. Baker Mayfield and that young up-and-coming Browns team head to L.A. to take on Justin Herbert. That's star power right there. And then Sunday Night Football.
Yeah.
This might be my favorite game of the schedule.
Right.
Bills and Chiefs rematch AFC title game in Arrowhead. The Bills are going to be wanting revenge, and the Chiefs don't lose at Arrowhead. So I'm going to be watching this one from opening kickoff to the final whistle.
Yeah, me too. The Bills, I love that Bills team a lot. The Bills are, they've had so much misery for so long. And it's just so good to see them have success. They're like the Browns.
And we've talked about Flores, and we've talked about Stefanski, and we've talked about, LaFleur and like these up-and-coming really talented coaches. You told me if I got to pick who I wanted as my young up-and-coming head coach, I'd pick Sean McDermott.
So would I.
I would.
He's up there with, like you said, LaFleur, McVay, Shanahan. He's up there. Yeah. So there's so many intriguing matchups still ahead here on Testa and Neal. Keep it real. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to move in further into the schedule.
NFL day, baby.
Week 6 through 11, 6 through 12. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
We'll keep going until we're done.
We're gonna go until we're done with the schedule. So whether you like it or not, keep it here.
The schedule came out last night.
Yeah.
Like, if you weren't expecting us to talk NFL a lot today, I don't know what's wrong with you.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more NFL talk right here on Testa and Neal. Keep it real on WWSU 106.9.
Hey everyone, check out Rush Week 2021, presented by Alpha Sig Eta Psi here on campus. To find out more information, check out their Instagram at ALPHASIGS_WSU. You're gonna love it.
They say singing can help you remember things, so here's some tips for parents out there during these tough times. Number 1, make sure your kids wash their hands for 20 seconds after they've coughed or sneezed or been outside. 2, virtual play dates. Social and physical distancing can help save lives. Tell them they're safe and show your love and pride. Yes, we'll get through this together. Find out more at coronavirus.gov. A message from the CDC and the Ad Council.
A social distancing tip.
Putting distance between yourself and others is critical to slowing the spread of coronavirus. So here are ways to stay in contact without the physical contact part. Call, send a text, set up a video conference, post on social media, dedicate a song on the radio. If you have symptoms of fever, dry cough, and shortness of breath, call your healthcare provider before going to their office. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
Let's all do our part, because we're all #AloneTogether. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
If you love them enough to turn off your music and pretend like their music is your music.
This is Mommy's jam.
Then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Let's play it again.
Check today at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
For those fortunate enough to help the person who has always been their hero, AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
How do airplanes fly? What's in this box? What does this thing do? Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Learn how to store your gun securely and make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Watch out! You got me!
The galaxy is safe once again.
In the pretend universe, kids play with pretend guns. In the real world, it's up to us to make sure they don't get their hands on a real gun. If you have a gun in the house, keep it locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job?
Not for spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
Or a mother who's in between jobs and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner? I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. I am Hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the whoops. Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Every day, men and women from communities across this nation serve as Reserve Citizen Airmen.
I am proud to defend our nation.
Proud to be part of a team that helps make a difference.
I am proud to be part of something larger than me.
We celebrate those who have served and those who are proudly serving in the Air Force Reserve. Our mission is to fly, fight, and win in air, space, and cyberspace.
I am proud to be a member. I am proud to protect our...
Proud to serve in the U.S. Air Force Reserve.
AFReserve.com.
In the wake of a disaster, what one thing can you send that will help people the most? A blanket, a tent, a sandbag, a doctor. Actually, if you send a monetary donation, you send all these things. Even a small donation can make a big impact and can quickly become exactly what people affected by disaster need most.
In the wake of a hurricane, your monetary donation can make a huge difference to those in need. To donate, visit supporthurricanerelief.org. That's supporthurricanerelief.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
I love this song! I love nachos.
Loving everything? You might be buzzed.
You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzz warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Stony Hollow reminds us this year that texting and driving never mix. Did you know that 1 in 4 car accidents are caused by distracted driving? Stony Hollow Landfill knows that no text message is worth the risk. That's Stony Hollow Landfill on the air because they care.
If you love them enough to barely sleep, then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone who
had to be independent and take initiative. And that's how I handle every project I get.
Discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org. Brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
Hi, my name is Essence, and I'm a psychology major here at Wright State, and you are listening to WWSU 106.9, Dayton's Right Choice.
You are listening to Testa and Neal. Keep it real right here on Dayton's Right Choice, WWSU 106.9 FM.
Testa and Neal, keep it real right here on WWSU 106.9. We appreciate you hanging out with us 1 to 3 every weekday. This is our 4th show, and it already feels like we've been doing it a long time.
We haven't been canceled yet, so
No,
I think
I know.
we're doing something right.
Either Patrick's asleep in his office or he likes what we're doing.
There's no in between.
Either way, I'm okay with it.
I am too.
Yeah.
I am too. No doubt about it.
So we're picking up in week 6. We're going to go until the top of the hour, and we'll see how far we get, and then we'll finish it up on the other, in the second hour. So the first one that I really like here in week number 6 is the Chiefs head to Washington to take on Ron Rivera and the WFTs, if you will.
WFTs. I like it.
I like this matchup because obviously the Chiefs have all the weapons in the world. Andy Reid, Pat Mahomes, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins. Is Sammy Watkins still there? I can't remember. I think
In
he might have
Kansas
left.
City?
I think he might have left.
No, he went somewhere else.
He's with Baltimore now.
Yeah, that's what I
So
thought.
Mecole Hardman, Byron Pringle, Travis Kelce. The weapons are off the chart.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
And they get to take on a Washington football team who I really think has one of the best defensive line front sevens in all of the NFL.
Yeah,
so,
I'm with you.
And we saw how much Pat Mahomes struggled in the Super Bowl when there's a good rush. So Washington, I might put them on upset alert in this game.
Yeah, this is interesting. Because with how the emergence of, Terry McLaurin is one of the best young receivers in football.
He's just one of the best receivers in football.
Facts. Yes, I totally agree.
Mm-hmm.
This upset alert is interesting to me. I think the Chiefs win.
Yep.
But I think the WFTs give them a run for their money here.
And this week 6 is still part of the 2 months a year where Ryan Fitzpatrick is the greatest quarterback on the planet. So he could throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns in this game.
Yeah, very possible.
Another game that I really like in week 6 is going to be an NFC North matchup between the Packers and the Bears at Soldier Field. If Rodgers is playing, this could be
all the Packers games this season are contingent on if Rodgers plays.
Exactly. If Rodgers is playing, this is a game for the for the Packers to seize control of the NFC North, win against a division rival on the road. But if Rodgers isn't playing, this is a chance for the Bears to say, hey, we're the team to beat in the NFC North. Defend your home field, because if Aaron Rodgers doesn't play for the Packers anymore, I do think the Bears are probably the next best team.
Yeah, I think so too. The Vikings have been in that conversation for a while, but with all the Rodgers drama going on, we don't know how good or not good the Vikings are going to be. With the emergence of Detroit with Jared Goff and Chicago.
Yeah, who knows about the Lions? The Lions are a wild card.
Yeah, no one knows with the Lions. They could come out and win 10 games and surprise everybody.
The difference for me between the Vikings and the Bears, and I don't know if you share this opinion or not, the Vikings to me remind me of Swiss cheese. It's a team that has solid pieces but has a bunch of little holes. The Bears, I think, are a solid team that has one big hole, and that's quarterback. And if Justin Fields can be the guy, I think they're a more complete team than a team with a bunch of small little holes.
Yeah, I would agree with you. It's much easier to fill in the little holes in that block of cheese, if you will, than it is just to fill
the big hole that is a quarterback.
Right in the middle, yeah.
But if Fields is the guy and they filled that big hole, the rest of their block is pretty good.
Here's a sneaky good game. Monday Night Football, Bills-Titans in Nashville.
I don't even know if that's a sneaky good game. That's just a good game. It's funny because they're completely opposite styles, where the Bills are strong defense with a very talented quarterback, but no running game. And the Titans are a strong defense with a very good running game and a below-average quarterback.
Right.
So it's interesting to see how those two styles collide. I hold the belief in any Titans game that they play, if Derrick Henry controls the pace of play, the Titans are maybe the toughest team to beat in the league.
Yeah, they're up there. The Titans are always tough. I mean, they've been to
That's the Titans' game plan ever since Vrabel got there. Give the ball to Derrick Henry as much as you can, drain as much clock as you can. Don't let the other team touch the ball.
I think one of my favorite, standoffs, if you will, was when Bill Belichick just ran the play clock down on a punt play to burn clock more and more, and then eventually ended up beating the Titans earlier that year. And then Vrabel did the same thing to Bill in the AFC playoffs later that year. So I just love that. Vrabel's one of my, even though he's in the Colts division, one of my favorite coaches in football. But
Week 7, two games that pop out to me right off the bat are the Jets and Patriots. And I picked this because I believe in Week 7 this will be Zach Wilson versus Mac Jones. And it'll be the first time we see these two in the division rivalry. And then also another game that popped out to me is Lions and Rams. Stafford and Goff get to go up against their former teams.
Yeah, it's exciting. Like you said earlier, the NFL does these things on purpose.
Oh yeah, it's so the schedule's so scripted.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's so this is interesting.
You got
with
the Texans playing the Cardinals. Watt plays his old team. This is all they put this together for a month about, hey, how can we get the best ratings and make the best storylines?
Colts travel to Santa Clara on Sunday night. Play Shanahan and company. Whether it's Garoppolo, whether it's Trey Lance, nobody knows at this point in the year.
Nope.
This point in the year is about the time where you start benching your average quarterbacks.
This could be the time of the year where Garoppolo
gets
taken out for Lance, and Dalton gets taken out for Fields, and Newton gets taken out for Jones, stuff like that.
Yeah. And then this Monday night game is also interesting. The Saints travel to Seattle to take on the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Sean Payton, another one of my favorites. The quarterback. I mean, we talked a little bit about the Saints yesterday and their quarterback questions with Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill. There, it is. I think it's an 80% chance that Winston is the starter right now.
Yeah.
I think Peyton wants to go with the guy who has more experience.
I agree.
But yeah, this is a good game because. Yeah.
I'm glad you brought it up because we haven't talked about the Saints yet because it's just, Saints without Drew Brees aren't as fun. But I do think Jameis Winston in Sean Payton's system has a chance to be very successful. And I like that matchup against, Russell Wilson in the Seahawks because the Seahawks have a defense that's very inconsistent, especially in their front seven. They haven't had a really strong pass rush since the days of Cliff Averill and Michael Bennett and those kind of guys. I mean, the only way the Seahawks brought pressure in the days of the Legion of Boom, the way that the Seahawks brought pressure was they blitzed Cam Chancellor. That's the only way they got to the quarterback.
Yeah.
And so I think this could be a big game for the Saints offense to really kind of get some momentum. So I like that matchup a lot. Week 8, I am a sucker for matchups of young, talented quarterbacks. So I'm going with the Bengals and Jets. Zach Wilson versus Joe Burrow in MetLife in New York City. If Joe Burrow's still alive in Week 8, that should be a really fun game.
Yeah, I love how that the NFL memes account on Instagram and on Twitter, week by week, I think week 7 or week 8 is Joe Burrow dies.
My favorite one is like in week 4, it says Russell Wilson throws for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, emerges as an MVP candidate. And then in week 12, it says Russell Wilson throws for 80 yards and 3 interceptions, loses MVP.
Yeah. It's exactly what happened last year, and there's a chance it'll happen again this year.
Yep.
And I know that breaks Scotty's heart, but that's just the reality.
Yeah. Russ just always comes up 3rd or 4th in the MVP race.
Yeah.
And it's going to be really hard for him to win an MVP over guys like Kyler Murray and Patrick Mahomes and eventually a guy like Trevor Lawrence and stuff like that. I told you yesterday I'm semi-confident about this, but also not confident about this because of just how many talented quarterbacks there are. I think Joe Burrow gets an MVP in his career, but with guys like Mahomes, Josh Allen, you never know.
Yeah. And it's tough because you got to have the talent around you, and the Chiefs have provided that with Mahomes, and the Bills have provided that talent with Allen. And the talent's definitely there in Cincinnati with the Bengals. Mm-hmm. They just need like a couple more like pieces, I think. Yeah. Like for me, they don't really have a set in stone star other than Joe Burrow.
No, I don't think so either. I think the closest thing they have to that is maybe Tyler Boyd. I think Tyler Boyd's underrated. I don't think he's a star. I think he's a fringe Pro Bowl caliber player.
Yeah.
I think they're hoping Jamar Chase emerges as that star. I think they're hoping that, Burrow and Chase can be the next Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, which is possible. I mean, it really is. But I think that, like you said, 2 years ago, the Bengals just didn't have a direction. And now it feels like they have a direction. They just got to kind of pick up some people along the way while they're driving to their destination. Joe Burrow's the driver of the vehicle. He just needs a couple more passengers.
Right. And I just love seeing how Joe Burrow just recruited guys in the offseason. Like, literally took
Burrow's just a winner, man.
Yeah.
No, Burrow, there's nothing Joe Burrow hates in the year and a half I've really followed him, from his senior year at LSU to his year with the Bengals. There's nothing he hates more than losing.
Right.
And when the Bengals weren't very good last year, in the post-game interviews, I mean, he just looked like he had that face of somebody, like, he looked like, Conor McGregor going into the ring about to kill somebody.
Exactly.
So, I mean, Joe Burrow just absolutely feeds on a competitive drive and on winning. And as soon as that season ended, he knew that the Bengals needed to do something different. So he got the guys he thought could help make them better. And I applaud him for that because the Bengals haven't had a player like that since maybe Chad Johnson.
Yeah. It's an interesting scenario with Bengals because they're another team that you just don't know what they're going to do.
No, you don't. You really don't. I could see the Bengals winning 5 or 6. I could see everything going right for the Bengals, and maybe they win 10.
Yeah, and that's best case scenario personally for the Bengals.
I think it's going to be somewhere in the middle, like 7 or 8. That's what I'm thinking. Personally.
I'm interested. The Bengals are another team that interests me a lot because I mean Burrow's going to be back. They've added a few. They've added Chase.
Yeah, I honestly believe, and this is going to sound like the biased Bengal take again, but I honestly believe when he's fully healthy and he gets the time that he needs to succeed, that Joe Burrow is already a fringe top 10 quarterback in the NFL.
He's close.
I do.
He's close.
Mm-hmm.
he's another player that I just want to see more from.
Yeah, for sure. He's only played 8 weeks in his NFL career.
Right.
So
here's an interesting one. I'm going to move on to week 9. And that's going to be, let's see here.
Live radio, folks.
Yeah, exactly. Bills Jaguars in Jacksonville.
That's a good one. Trevor Lawrence gets a chance to go up against a top-tier guy like Josh Allen in the Bills defense. It's very, very good. And this is also a big test for Urban Meyer going up against a coach like Sean McDermott. Is Urban Meyer's philosophies that worked in college going to translate to the NFL? Because if you're going to succeed in the NFL, you're going to have to beat guys like McDermott, like Shanahan, like LaFleur, like Brian Flores. And we don't know what Urban's going to do yet. And I mean, if the Jaguars lose to the Bills, I mean, I don't think a lot of people are going to be ticked at Urban Meyer. But if you're going to turn this Jaguars franchise around and make them a competitive team with Trevor Lawrence, you got to start winning games like this.
Yeah, you no doubt you got it. You got to win games. And the close games, winning the close games is what propels you to the playoffs. And you got to win those close games. I mean, there was a team that a few years back, I can't remember what team it was, but they lost out of 8 of their 10 or 11 losses were within 3 points of each other. All 8 of their 11 losses were within 3 points.
The Chargers had the number 1 offense and the number 1 defense in 2009, and they still missed the playoffs because they had the worst special teams in the league.
Yeah.
That just reminds me of that team. No matter what you do, it still finds a way to go south.
It's similar to the Colts a few years back when Vinatieri just decided to suck.
Yeah. Colts did everything right.
They were 5-2 through 7 games, and then ended up finishing the season 8-8.
Right. Maybe the greatest kicker of all time decided to have a year that would be bad for a guy like Zane Gonzalez.
Yeah. And so that's an interesting.
Yeah. 2 games that pop in my head really quick before we move on to week 10. Titans-Rams on Sunday Night Football. Again, I just love Derrick Henry. I think that Titans team is really fun to watch. And then the Rams. I mean, I'm going to watch a lot of Rams games this year.
I feel like the Rams are they're just fun.
Yeah.
I mean, they're an interesting they're just an interesting story.
Exactly.
They're in the new stadium and they're in Inglewood next year with that they'll share with the Chargers, but
yeah.
It's an interesting. The Rams are so just fascinating to me,
right?
Because their defense is very good.
Their coach is very good,
and
their offense could be very good.
Their new quarterback is also very good.
Yeah.
So, I love that one.
And then the last game of week 9 that I want to hit on, and I'm picking this because I'm assuming that Justin Fields is going to be the starter by week 9. But Bears and Steelers on Monday Night Football. With the Bears defense going up against the Steelers defense, I think it's 2 top 8 defenses in the league.
Yeah.
And then Big Ben, we don't know what to expect out of Big Ben. Justin Fields, we don't know what to expect out of Justin Fields. But if Big Ben has a little bit of a revival and Justin Fields is anything like we think he can be, that could be a really fun game that not a lot of people have talked about.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's there's so many interesting storylines from the offseason that play into the fascination of this season as a whole. And it's really just it's just fascinating. I mean there's no greater movie than the NFL season.
Yeah. Week 10, first game I'm going to pick here is a battle of 2 really top-tier rookies I like, Falcons and Cowboys, because in this game, you're going to see Kyle Pitts go up against Micah Parsons.
Yes.
And I think Parsons is going to be covering Pitts a lot in that game, and I'm very excited to see that matchup.
For sure. I mean, this is a matchup that, quite frankly, one of the best non-quarterbacks, one of the best prospects that's not a quarterback from this draft.
Maybe ever.
Yeah. I mean, the best tight end prospect since Tony Gonzalez, maybe?
Maybe. He might be. I mean, straight hype out of coming into the draft, he might be the greatest tight end prospect ever.
Yeah, he's up there definitely, for sure. I mean, we talked a little bit about him yesterday. Plays in line, can play the slot, or can play out wide. So he's going to be going up against either Micah Parsons or one of those corners in Dallas.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many. I mean, it's Pitts is going to be a matchup nightmare all year long.
Yeah, I mean, how is a 5'10", 195 corner going to cover 6'4", 275 Kyle Pitts?
We both thought that Parsons was the best defensive player in the draft. So if you want that rep, I mean, prove it.
Right.
Cover who we might think is the best offensive player in the draft.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Another one from week number 10 that intrigues me is
Trevor Lawrence
just
makes
had
his
it.
first appearance
Yeah.
to Lucas Oil.
Right. Yeah, I just had it. Where'd it go? Yeah, Trevor Lawrence goes to Indianapolis. And also the Browns travel to New England.
Glad you picked that one. I was looking at that one too.
Yeah, it's an interesting one here with like Baker Mayfield can go in and either beat Mac Jones or beat Cam Newton and beat Bill.
Yep.
So it's just, I mean,
and it's so hard to win in Foxborough with or without Brady. I mean, New England's
we saw
such a tough place to play.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Going back to the NFC West again, Rams 49ers on Monday night.
Yep.
So that's an interesting one also for all the reasons we just listed about the Rams. I mean, from what it sounds like, the Rams are going to be my second team to the Colts this year.
Maybe. My second team to the Bengals might end up being, I don't know, the Titans or the I don't know.
Yeah. So another one in Week 10 that I just kind of skipped over is Chiefs-Raiders.
I'm glad you brought that up. I was about to bring that up actually to end. I was going to say we're gonna start with Week 11 in the second hour, but Chiefs-Raiders is a really cool matchup. We haven't talked about the Raiders yet. Derek Carr, of course, Josh Jacobs, a team that attacked in the first round and got a guy who we think they might have reached on a little bit in Alex Leatherwood, but they seem to like him a lot. That Raider defense is always very stingy, very well coached.
Right.
And just a little bit of a story to end the first hour that we read about earlier. The Raiders, are putting a nightclub behind the end zone of their new stadium. And how do you feel about that? Like you can go to Vegas now and party in a nightclub while watching the Raiders game.
Yeah, you can go and party in a nightclub in one of the greatest stadiums in the world and be drilled by a
Derek Carr overthrow.
By a Derek Carr overthrow on a post route. So that's a hefty price to pay, also with some insane risk involved.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
With partying at Allegiant Stadium with
it's a cool idea.
The greatest Super Bowl in the world, and that's Mark Davis's haircut.
It's a cool idea, but I give it a month before somebody gets hit in the face with a ball.
It's gonna be like a Pam Oliver situation.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. All right, well, we're gonna step away for a little bit. Hour number 2 coming up next. We still got weeks 11 through 18 to break down, and we also have plenty of basketball, baseball, and stuff to get into as well. We'll give you a score update on Cardinals Brewers. We'll talk about, I'm sure Parker's got a rant in him about the Dodgers. And we'll get into all that and more. Hour number 2, keep it real. Testa and Neal, we're coming back in 5 minutes.
You are now listening to WWSU 106.9 FM, Fairborn, Dayton, Dayton's right choice.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute? When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can. But it's just as important to take time for yourself. AARP can help. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Pass it on.
This time of upheaval is causing me to look a little deeper inside myself, looking for some goodness. And this is what I've found. I'm more aware of my neighbor's well-being. I'm saying thanks to those who help keep my life as normal as possible. My mail carrier, my grocery cashier, my delivery person. I find myself caring about others instead of just looking out for myself. And oh, my goodness, does it feel good. Goodness is in you.
Pass it on.
From PassItOn.com.
America, your children have an amazing superpower. That's right. They can help save lives by simply washing their hands. Just 20 seconds of thorough hand washing after they've coughed or sneezed or been outside can help fight against the dastardly spread of germs. Armed with only soap and water and hands, your superhero can protect you, your family, and everyone out there in America land. Amazing! Find out more at coronavirus.gov. A message from the CDC and the Ad Council.
Pass it on.
Now's the time to stay apart. Social distancing. But I'm adding something else. Pull together. What's pulling together while we're staying apart? It's calling family to check in on them. It's waving to your neighbor. It's the things we should have been doing all along. And when this tragedy passes and we're able to come together, we'll be stronger than ever because we've already pulled together. Stay apart. Pull together.
Pass it on.
From PassItOn.com.
Donna from Louisiana. The storm just hit, and we went from donating to the food bank to needing it.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling on it.
The dad joke. Corny, groan-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
What did the buffalo say when he dropped his son off for school? Bye, son.
So take a moment to make your kid laugh, because dad jokes rule. Make your kid laugh today. Go to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
If you love them enough to sit through their favorite boy band with them, then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the-right-seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
What can I possibly do to make this stressful time a little better? Here's one thing I found. It's a small thing, a simple thing, a remarkable thing. Smile. You can share a smile from more than 6 feet apart. You can share it socially with the whole world. In fact, right now, I'm smiling at you. And I hope you're smiling back, because smiling is in you. From PassItOn.com.
I asked what kind of family she wanted. She said, a family like yours.
Learn more about adopting a teen at adoptuskids.org. You can't imagine the reward. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Adopt U.S. Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for Greatest of All Time. As in, spaghetti sandwiches for dinner? They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Dad, I picked up your pills, made your lunch, and your laundry is done.
When you care for a loved one, you take care of everything. But are you taking care of yourself? Find free care guides at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone.
Done.
By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Have you noticed lately how empty everything is? Empty streets, empty stores, empty schools. But I'm trying to change these empty times by being full of gratitude. Gratitude means saying thanks to the garbage collector, the medical providers, and all those who are helping every day. Things may appear empty around us, but when we're filled with gratitude, nothing is completely empty inside us. Gratitude is in you. From PassItOn.com.
Melissa from Michigan. I work an extra part-time job serving lunch at my child's school, but I still can't afford to put food on our table.
Daniel from California. Choosing whether to pay the rent or pay to fix the car to get to work doesn't leave us with much at all. Now we can't even pay for meals.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them?
By their clothes,
their age,
the way they speak.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Banks Strong, and the Ad Council.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
If you love them enough to listen to them practice the same song on tuba,
please be done.
Over and over and over and over and over, then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the-right-seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Sounds good, honey.
Check today at NHTSA.gov/the-right-seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
To some, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much, but that's not true. They're testing out vowels and consonants and trying different sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on meaning, especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Learn more at autismspeaks.org. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
My mother was very familiar with her neighborhood, but one day she stopped at the stop sign and she wasn't even really sure where she was at.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
To protect her home and family in a disaster, Karen was willing to wade through water, mud, and insurance paperwork.
Yeah, I can do this.
You go, Karen! By simply understanding and updating what her insurance covers and doesn't cover now, she'll be better prepared no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Tom has been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. I was really starting to worry.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Every day, men and women from communities across this nation serve as Reserve Citizen Airmen.
I am proud to defend our nation.
Proud to be part of a team that helps make a difference.
I am proud to be part of something larger than me and to serve my country.
We celebrate those who have served and those who are proudly serving in the Air Force Reserve. Our mission is to fly, fight, and win in air, space, and cyberspace.
I am proud to be a member. I am proud to protect our...
Proud to serve in the U.S. Air Force Reserve.
Adopt U.S. Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Jelly. Jelly adjective. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
America, your children have an amazing superpower. They can help save lives by not having play dates. That's right. By replacing get-togethers with virtual play dates and video chats, they can help slow the evil spread of germs. And if your superheroes do go outside, make sure they continue their superhero wing by staying 6 feet away from others to protect everyone in America land. Find out more at coronavirus.gov. A message from the CDC and the Ad Council.
Social distancing slows the spread of coronavirus. So if you have a fever, dry cough, and shortness of breath, call your healthcare provider before going in. More info at coronavirus.gov. Let's all do our part, because we're all #AloneTogether. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Dance like a dad. It's a great way to make a moment with your kids.
First, I hold my hands out like they're on a steering wheel. Then I look over my shoulder. Next, I put it in reverse.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone.
Done.
By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
I love this song. I love nachos.
Loving everything? You might be buzzed.
You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzz warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Hi, my name is Logan Foley. I am a rehabilitation service major here at Wright State, and you are listening to WWSU 1069 Dayton's Right Choice.
You are listening to Testa and Neal. Keep it real right here on Dayton's Right Choice, WWSU 106.9 FM. Back here on Testa and Neal, keep it real right here on WWSU 106.9. Thank you for joining us, everybody, here on this Thursday afternoon. Really appreciate all of your support so far in our first week of the show, our first 4 shows here this week. Appreciate all of you watching on YouTube as well. So we got more NFL talk, because why not? It's fun, right?
Yeah, we do. And I love talking NFL. I'm casually watching this Flaherty versus Burns game as we're talking NFL, because that's a great pitching matchup. But, yeah, I mean, we got a lot of baseball to get into. Jared Kelenic makes his MLB debut tonight. The Mets are on a 7-game winning streak, and also, the playoffs. The Knicks made the playoffs. We got a lot to dive into in hour number 2. So
yeah,
we only got 48 minutes to do it. So let's get to work.
Yeah, no doubt.
Week 11 for the NFL. game that pops off at me, and this is, I think, the third time we picked your Colts, but I like the Colts and the Bills.
Rematch of the wild card game from last year.
Mm-hmm.
So this is, I mean, the Bills are, I think, the second best team in the AFC right now. They're a strong team. I know. I mean, we've talked about the Bills a little bit, but Josh Allen, very good player. We all know how good Josh Allen is. Still have Diggs. They still have, they don't have much of a running game, which I think that's their one flaw. But their defense is still very strong with Tre'Davious White, with Ed Oliver, with
Jordan Poyer.
Yeah. I mean, you could go down the list. They
just drafted Gregory Rosso.
Right. Yeah.
AJ Epinesa. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, defense is obviously the name of the game for McDermott and whoever the hell the GM is there in Buffalo.
Yeah. McDermott's crony.
It's gonna space my name, I'm gonna space his name, but my apologies for not knowing every NFL GM. All right,
Doug Whaley.
Okay, I wouldn't have guessed that if I had a.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Shot of a dartboard.
It's not Doug Whaley anymore. It's now Brandon Bean.
Okay. All right. Awesome.
So Billy Bean's brother.
I was just thinking that. But I mean, we can talk about the Athletics later on if we want to. But yeah. So this Colts Bills matchup is interesting to me. Another one that sticks out to me for Week 11 is Cowboys Chiefs. That's an interesting one. I mean, we talked about the Cowboys a lot, and if it's a remotely decent team going up against the Chiefs, it's going to be a good game.
I agree. I totally agree. I think that the Cowboys offense has a ton of potential, and the Cowboys defense has a lot of really good players. It's just we don't know if everything's going to work together at the same time. But I think the Cowboys are a much better team than we saw last year, and I think a lot of people know that. I think the Chiefs are the best team in the league, personally, on paper. It should be a good game. If it was in Dallas, I'd be more willing to maybe think this could be an upset, but the Chiefs don't lose at Arrowhead.
No, not at all. I mean,
they don't. And so the third game that pops off at me is I'm hoping this is Lance versus Lawrence, but the Niners head to Jacksonville and take on Duval and the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I hope that's number 1 versus number 3 and Lawrence versus Lance. I think the Jaguars are a much worse team. The Niners obviously have a better defense, have a better running back room, stuff like that. But Lawrence versus Lance is worth tuning in for in its own right.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Battle of 2 of the top 3 picks in that game. And I know that, I mean, we talked about there's a matchup between, I think, Wilson and Lawrence earlier in the year.
I think it was Wilson and Mac Jones.
That's right. That's what it was.
But, I mean, I'm going to watch anytime 2 of the rookies in the first round match up against each other, I'll probably be watching it.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Because I think this is a really talented rookie class of quarterbacks.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Had to have 5 quarterbacks go in the top 15. It just goes to show the talent that what came out this year in this year's draft.
Mm-hmm.
But moving on to Week 12, we're more than halfway through the schedule already.
Yep.
But
you mentioned Brady comes to Lucas Oil for the first time, but how about let's go back to the NFC East. Hurts versus Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is kind of not notorious for being a great quarterback, but Hurts and the versatility that the Eagles offense brings going up against a revamped Giants receiving core with Darius Slayton, with Kenny Golladay, with Sterling Shepard. If Daniel Jones can be average this year, the Giants are right there at the top of the division.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Let's another one that kind of just jumps out to me is again, contingent on if Aaron Rodgers plays, but Rams, Packers, and Green Bay at Lambeau is another interesting one for me in Week 12. That's a 4:30 game on Sunday, November 25th, so right around Thanksgiving. Actually,
is this
right
actually,
after.
This is Thanksgiving week, isn't it?
It is Thanksgiving week. So actually, that Thanksgiving week is there is Bears, Lions, Raiders, Cowboys, Bills, Saints.
That's 3 pretty good games right there.
Sure is.
They always do good with the Thanksgiving lineup. It's usually 2 or 3. At least 2 of the 3 games are usually pretty good.
And the Cowboys are going to play on Thanksgiving, and the Lions are going to play on Thanksgiving. It happens every year, but I think
Jared Goff gets his first taste of Thanksgivings in Detroit. So
yep.
The Bears usually play on Thanksgiving too. I believe.
Yeah.
It's not a lock every year, but I think they do more than a not.
Yeah. It seems like they're more often scheduled than most other teams.
It seems like they try and make it Bears-Lions on Thanksgiving almost every year.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be a very good Bengals fan if I didn't shout out Steelers and Bengals in Cincinnati this week as well. Burrow gets his chance to beat the Steelers at home. Honestly, I think the Steelers are still a solid team, but I think the Bengals are much improved, and I think both games against the Steelers this year are winnable. I'm not going to come out here and say that I think the Bengals are going to go 2-0 against the Steelers this year, but if the Bengals did manage to win both games against the Steelers, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be that shocked.
I wouldn't either.
I think the Bengals, in a lot of ways, are a better football team.
Yeah, it's the Bengals have more of they have more potential. They have a higher ceiling than the
Steelers are trending down. The Bengals are trending up. They're about at the same spot, but they're trending in opposite directions.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
And then how about the other game in the AFC North on Sunday Night Football? Browns and Ravens in Baltimore.
Yes.
That's the two best teams in the division right there.
Right. Yeah, no doubt about it. Harbaugh and their running back take on the Browns.
Harbaugh and his running back.
Yes. That's what I call him. But this is an interesting matchup. I think the Browns are the better team here.
Yeah. I agree. I think the Browns, personally, in my opinion, on paper, I think the Browns are the team to beat in the North.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Especially with the talent that they came out with last year, giving the Chiefs a run for their money in the playoff game there. So
100%.
So that's an interesting matchup, no doubt about it.
How about Cardinals Bears in Week 13?
Yeah.
Justin could very well be Justin Fields at this point, going up against Kyler Murray, two very similar quarterbacks in athleticism, in leadership, in arm strength, in playmaking ability. I mean, when I look at Justin Fields, I see a lot of Kyler Murray in him, and this could be a really good test for him to say, hey, do I have that same kind of alpha dog mentality that Kyler possesses?
Patriots Bills on Monday night in Buffalo at New Era Field. This is early not New Era Field. It was New Era Field. I'm not sure what the name is of it now, but
I always knew it as Orchard Park.
Yeah, it's it quite possibly could not be New Era Field.
Yeah, no, it is now called. Let's see if I can find it. It is now Highmark Stadium. It was originally Rich Stadium, and then Ralph Wilson Stadium, and then New Era Field, and then Bills Stadium, and now it's called Highmark Stadium.
Okay, so one of the venues that they changed.
They meet at Highmark
all the time. Yeah. But yeah, this is early December, so very, very well could be a blizzard in Buffalo for this game.
Well, it's like the Dragons. I've been alive for almost 22 years. In my whole lifetime, it's been called Fifth Third Field, and they just changed it last year to Day Air Ballpark, and I actually got to speak a little bit with the CEO of Day Air Credit Union on Tuesday night. He's a really cool dude. But, I mean, everybody in the media room is like, we're going to call it Fifth Third Field all year. We're going to get fined so much money. I hate, the only stadium name that I welcome is I think that LinkedIn, the company LinkedIn, should buy a minor league baseball team and name the stadium LinkedIn Park. Because I think that would be hilarious.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, some of these names
oh, that's another show topic right there. Best minor league baseball names.
Yes. I mean, we could dive into that tomorrow if we want to.
Heck,
but
yeah.
More AFC West contests. I mean, all throughout NFC West.
Yeah. Niners,
throughout
Seahawks.
Niners, Seahawks.
And you've also got Ravens, Steelers right above it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jaguars, Rams. I mean, this is this Week 13.
Week 13 is going to be a week to watch out for sure.
No doubt about it.
Game I'm looking out for in Week 14 is Thursday night, Steelers and the Vikings in Minnesota. I think these are two teams that are in very similar positions with a coach that might be on the way out in Zimmer and Tomlin, a quarterback that's kind of on the decline in Cousins and Roethlisberger, and, just a team that seems more average than above average. And I'm excited to see maybe one of these teams surprises us, maybe one of these teams disappoints us. But as of right now, sitting here today on May 13th, these two teams I think are very similar, and I think it makes for a very intriguing matchup.
I think so too. This one stands out to me because we don't know how Ben is going to play. And you said we talked about NFL coaches earlier in the week. You said Tomlin is one that could be on the hot seat if the Steelers don't have a good year.
I think that, we see it all the time in sports where you go in a new direction, you start a rebuild, you start a new era, and you don't want to do it with the same guy. You just kind of tear everything down and start fresh.
Yeah. So, moving down the list.
Battle for the NFC East is one that's catching my eyes because I think it's going to be two teams that are at the top, Cowboys and WFT in Washington.
Yeah. So, and I think if there's any year for the Cowboys to have a resurgence, it's this year.
Yes.
The NFC East was atrocious last year. Washington won the division, and their record was 7-9.
Yes.
Not a fun division to watch football.
If Dak is healthy this year, it's the Cowboys division to lose.
Exactly. And I feel like it's supposed to be the Cowboys division to lose every year. Is what's supposed to be what that's supposed to be. But another matchup that I like is Raiders Chiefs in Arrowhead.
Raiders are the team that always gives Chiefs the biggest fits.
Yeah.
So, for sure. I think that the Raiders, for some reason, figured out how to game plan around Mahomes. It's always a close game. So that's definitely one I'll have my eye on as well. And then third straight week, I bring up a AFC North battle. But that's because we went from, Bengals Steelers to Steelers Ravens. Now we have Ravens Browns in Cleveland. And both of the Ravens Browns games this year I'm going to be watching because I think they're two teams that are very, very talented. And obviously I think those two games are going to decide who wins the North.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Moving down this list, I just saw this. This could be another game of the year pick. Bills-Bucks in Tampa. Yeah. We've talked about
maybe a potential Super Bowl matchup.
Yeah, very well could be. We've talked about how good the Bills are. Everybody knows how good the Tampa Bay is. So this is a not sneaky. This is a one of the best games of the year in my opinion. Looking at the schedule early, of course. This is all just speculation.
Oh yeah.
None of us know how this is going to play out.
Tom Brady could get hurt, and the Buccaneers are 2-12 at this point in the year.
Right. Exactly. But I think looking at this game right now, Bills Buccaneers is one that should replace the Sunday night football game. Quite honestly,
it probably will at that point in the season.
Yeah. So, in that Sunday night football game that week is Bears Packers in Green Bay.
Unless Fields is a Rookie of the Year and Rodgers is playing. If Rodgers is playing and Fields is like a Rookie of the Year caliber player, I'm cool watching Bears Packers on Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, me too.
But that Bills Bucks game needs to be in prime time.
Yeah, it definitely. It's got to be. But you taking a look at Week 15, Thursday night game, another good one. The Chargers go to Los Angeles, the Chiefs go to Los Angeles, take on the Chargers.
Herbert versus Mahomes again, part 2.
Yeah.
Love it. This is a big week of division games where we see Chiefs, Chargers, we see Cowboys, Giants, as well as Seahawks, Rams, as well as Washington and the Eagles. And so there's 4 really big division games in this week. And of course, in Week 15, division games are so important. You have to you have to beat your division games. And I think all the teams I just mentioned, Chiefs, Chargers, Cowboys, Giants, and then the Seahawks, Rams, and the Washington football team and the Eagles. I think all 8 of those, it's possible, are within playoff contention.
So this one, there's a little bit of bias here. But in Week 15,
Colts,
Patriots come to Indianapolis.
Okay.
And the last time the Patriots were in Indianapolis is when...
AFC Championship?
No. Is when Chuck Pagano called the worst fourth down play in NFL history.
Was the AFC Championship game in New England?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yes,
that's the only time Luck ever got to the AFC Championship game. Right?
Yes, yes. But this is I'm looking forward to this game a lot.
Yeah,
because the Colts have a chance to win, and I haven't been fortunate enough to say that a lot in my lifetime, other than
Colts
when
can beat the Patriots.
Peyton Manning was the quarterback. Andrew Luck never beat the Patriots in his career, so
Carson Wentz is the dude.
If anything,
the Eagles have beaten the Patriots.
If anything is supposed to go right for the Colts this year, if they go 0-15 or 0-16,
but beat the Patriots,
I'll be happy.
It's a successful.
Successful year if you beat the Patriots. But
what if they go 16-1 and their 1 losses to the Patriots? Fire everyone.
I'd be okay with that too.
Fire everyone.
But
get Carson Wentz out of Indy.
Yeah, I mean, run that goon out of town if that happens.
Say goodnight to Frank Reich.
Good night, Reich. I can just see the
Hashtag goodnight, Reich.
I can see the headlines right now in the Indy Star. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that game a lot. If Drew Brees was the quarterback, Saints Buccaneers would be really good, just like it was last year. Falcons 49ers in San Francisco is another one that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I agree. And moving on to week 16, the first game that I want to look at is Niners and Titans because I think they play very similarly, built around defense and running the ball. But it could be, Trey Lance going up against a team that's very talented in the Tennessee Titans on Thursday Night Football. Browns and Packers on Christmas. If Rodgers is playing, that's an elite game. Oh, my.
No doubt about it.
And then Colts and Cardinals. There's some good Christmas football this year.
For sure.
Another one that really caught my eyes, Bills-Patriots on a Sunday, on the day after Christmas. And then I wanted to talk about Bucks and Panthers because we haven't talked about the Panthers yet. Sam Darnold is the quarterback of the Panthers now, and he gets a chance to revive his career in Carolina under Matt Rule, and he gets a chance to go up against a division rival in Tom Brady and the Bucks.
Yeah. So I love the hire of Matt Rule.
I do too. I think Rule's going to end up being successful.
I'm with you. Sam Darnold is another question mark for a quarterback in a new place. And I mean, we talked about it earlier that he'll travel to New York to play the Jets early in the year. So it should be an interesting matchup there. Dolphins Saints is interesting to me on Monday night.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we talked about the Dolphins, and there's so many question marks with the Dolphins as well as with the Saints, especially at the quarterback position. But this is quietly a good game because quarterbacks are there's quarterback questions with both teams right now.
Yep.
So especially with that Saints team. So
I agree.
I mean, more division games. Broncos, Raiders, Washington, Dallas.
Division games are going to be so good this year.
Bengals, Ravens.
Yep. Is that in Baltimore or in Cincy?
It's in Cincy.
Okay, then they may have a shot. If it's in Baltimore, they don't have a shot.
Eagles, Giants. I mean, Patriots, Bills. I mean, there's so many you could go.
And if you get to week 17, I mean, that's kind of where I was going with this. I mean, you have the Jags and Patriots, which is Trevor Lawrence versus Mac Jones. But then you have the Bengals getting their butts kicked by Patrick Mahomes. But you have more intriguing games. Rams and Ravens.
Yeah.
Stafford versus Lamar Jackson. You have Cardinals and Cowboys. Kyler Murray versus Dak Prescott. You can hate the Cowboys all you want. That's a fun game.
For sure.
Falcons and Bills. I mean, if the Falcons have a chance to be a competitive team this year, they do.
No doubt about it.
And then Monday Night Football. This is one of my favorite Monday night games of the year just because the last time these two teams played, I was so happy. Browns and Steelers. Watching the Steelers. I'm friends with way too many Steelers fans, and watching them all send me videos of them all confused and yelling at their TVs when they were down 28-0 to a Stefanski-less Browns team. It was the highlight of my life. Really, it was.
My brother is a Steelers fan, and
Your brother sounds like he sucks.
He does. So texting him throughout that game, going, "Dude, what happened?"
Yeah. Well, no, it's funny because the darkest moment of my life is the Bengals Steelers wild card game where AJ Green caught the pass to give him the lead with 1:57 to go. Vontaze Burfict gets the interception that should have won the game. Jeremy Hill does not put two hands on the ball, fumbles the ball. Steelers recover, and then drive down the field on the unnecessary roughness penalties by Burfict and Pac-Man Jones and kick the game-winning field goal. That has sat with me the wrong way for 6 years. And to watch, out of all teams, the Cleveland Browns curb stomp the Pittsburgh Steelers like that, I still have the same smile I had in January.
I was sitting there watching it, and eventually I was just like, are you kidding me?
And it's funny because they played each other in the last week of the regular season, and the Browns won that game too, and the Steelers were like, we let you win. Just wait until the playoffs. Oh, they waited. They were ready.
Yes, they were. So I'm going to move on to week 18 here, which is something that is still weird.
Never thought I'd say in my life.
Yeah, exactly. But more division games. Packers, Lions, Cowboys, Eagles.
I think almost everybody plays a division game the last week of the season. I think they just kind of added them on to the end.
That's what it looks like.
Seahawks.
I think
Cardinals.
you're correct. That's
it. Just makes it easier.
Every single division game is the last week of the season. So
Seahawks, Cardinals.
the Colts go to Jacksonville. I don't know what the hell is wrong with the Colts when they go to Jacksonville, but they have never had success in Jacksonville. Not once.
Interesting.
They lost the first game of the year to what everybody thought was the worst team in football and ended up being the worst team in football. The only win of the year that Jacksonville got was week 1 against the Colts. It broke my heart. But
brutal.
But
Cowboys and Eagles and Philly. I mean, if Jalen Hurts is as good as he showed flashes of last year, that could very well be the winner of that game wins the division.
No doubt about it. That game could decide the division.
It really could. And it's in Philly, which is, I mean, Philly's a tough place to play.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
You got Patriots Dolphins, one last fun young quarterback matchup, Mac Jones versus Tua Tagovailoa. Tua turned the ball over, if you will. I called him that in college. I'm sorry. I apologize.
No. No.
Steelers and Ravens, Browns and Bengals, Niners and Rams. That'll be a good one.
Sure will.
As well as Seahawks and Cardinals. The NFC West is just so dominant this year.
I mean, it's the most fascinating division of the season.
It really is.
Yeah.
I could see all 4 of those teams winning that division. I could.
Yeah. No. I mean, I'm with you. No doubt about it. So I mean, like we said,
we got through the schedule in 90 minutes.
We did.
We're going to step away for a few. When we come back, the Knicks are in the playoffs. We'll briefly touch on that. We'll also get you a score update around the MLB. There's like 4 or 5 games in action right now. And we'll talk a little bit about Jared Kelnick's MLB debut tonight. The number 4 prospect in all of baseball suits up for the first time tonight in Seattle. We'll break that down and so much more to end the show. Testa and Neal, keep it real. Keep it locked. We're back in 5 minutes.
And now, your Right State weather forecast.
Here is your Right State weather forecast for Monday, May 10th through Friday, May 14th. Monday, mostly sunny, high around 60. Monday night, mostly cloudy with a slight chance of showers overnight, low around 40. Tuesday, mostly sunny, high around 60. Tuesday night, partly cloudy with areas of frost overnight, low in the mid-30s. Wednesday, sunny, high around 60. Wednesday night, mostly clear, low around 40. Thursday, mostly sunny, high in the mid-60s. Thursday night, partly cloudy, low in the lower 40s. Friday, mostly sunny, high in the upper 60s. Friday night, partly cloudy, low in the mid-40s. Welcome to Right State summer semester students, and Raider up.
If you love them enough to listen to them practice the same song on tuba,
please be done.
Over and over and over and over and over, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Sounds good, honey.
Check today at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone who
had to be independent and take initiative. And that's how I handle every project I get.
Discover new ways to develop great talent at gradsoflife.org. Brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
Donna from Louisiana. The storm just hit, and we went from donating to the food bank to needing it.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
America, your children have an amazing superpower. That's right. They can help save lives by simply washing their hands. Just 20 seconds of thorough hand washing after they've coughed or sneezed or been outside can help fight against the dastardly spread of germs. Armed with only soap and water and hands, your superhero can protect you, your family, and everyone out there in America land. Amazing! Find out more at coronavirus.gov. A message from the CDC and the Ad Council.
Tom has been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. I was really starting to worry.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Stony Hollow reminds us this year that texting and driving never mix. Did you know that 1 in 4 car accidents are caused by distracted driving? Stony Hollow Landfill knows that no text message is worth the risk. That's Stony Hollow Landfill on the air because they care.
If you love them enough to turn off your music and pretend like their music is your music,
this is Mommy's jam.
then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Let's play it again.
Check today at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
For those fortunate enough to help the person who has always been their hero, AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help at aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Watch out! You got me!
The galaxy is safe once again.
In the pretend universe, kids play with pretend guns. In the real world, it's up to us to make sure they don't get their hands on a real gun. If you have a gun in the house, keep it locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
How do airplanes fly? What's in this box? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Learn how to store your gun securely and make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job?
Not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
Or a mother who's in between jobs and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner? I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. I am Hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Every day, men and women from communities across this nation serve as Reserve Citizen Airmen.
I am proud to defend our nation.
Proud to be part of a team that helps make a difference.
I am proud to be part of something larger than me.
We celebrate those who have served and those who are proudly serving in the Air Force Reserve. Our mission is to fly, fight, and win in air, space, and cyberspace.
I am proud to be a member. I am proud to protect our...
Proud to serve in the U.S. Air Force Reserve.
AFReserve.com.
In the wake of a disaster, what one thing can you send that will help people the most? A blanket, a tent, a sandbag, a doctor. Actually, if you send a monetary donation, you send all these things. Even a small donation can make a big impact and can quickly become exactly what people affected by disaster need most.
In the wake of a hurricane, your monetary donation can make a huge difference to those in need. To donate, visit supporthurricanerelief.org. That's supporthurricanerelief.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for Greatest of All Time. As in, spaghetti sandwiches for dinner? They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
If you love them enough to barely sleep, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute? When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can.
But it's just as important to take time for yourself. AARP can help. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Every day, men and women from communities across this nation serve as Reserve Citizen Airmen.
I am proud to defend our nation.
Proud to be part of a team that helps make a difference.
I am proud to be part of something larger than me and to serve my country.
We celebrate those who have served and those who are proudly serving in the Air Force Reserve. Our mission is to fly, fight, and win in air, space, and cyberspace.
I am proud to be a member. I am proud to protect our...
Proud to serve in the U.S. Air Force Reserve.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job?
Not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
Or a mother who's in between jobs and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner? I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
My mother was very familiar with her neighborhood, but one day she stopped at the stop sign and she wasn't even really sure where she was at.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Watch out! You got me!
The galaxy is safe once again.
In the pretend universe, kids play with pretend guns. In the real world, it's up to us to make sure they don't get their hands on a real gun. If you have a gun in the house, keep it locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
If you love them enough to turn off your music and pretend like their music is your music,
this is Mommy's jam.
then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Let's play it again.
Check today at NHTSA.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hi, my name is Logan Foley. I am a rehabilitation service major here at Wright State, and you are listening to WWSU 1069 Dayton's Right Choice.
You are listening to Testa and Neal. Keep it real right here on Dayton's Right Choice, WWSU 106.9 FM.
Back here on Testa and Neal, Keep It Real, right here on WWSU 106.9 FM, or on our YouTube channel, however you're listening to us here today. We appreciate it. We've had a lot of fun with you all week long. We're finally done talking NFL for the day, if you were sick of it after 90 minutes. But the schedule came out last night. You got to be ready to talk football.
So you get 15 minutes of NBA and MLB talk. So congratulations.
And, I mean, we just looked at some of the standings. The Braves are beating the Blue Jays 4-3. The Nats are up 5-1 on the Phillies. 4-0 Tigers over the Royals. Cardinals are up 1-0 on the Brewers. And the White Sox lead the Twins 1-0 as well. What the hell is wrong with the Twins?
No idea.
But
last year they were great. This year they're just,
really bad. Yeah. But the Dodgers are 20-17. They should not be 20-17, and I will let you take it away.
Don't even get me started. My God, this is awful. I mean the.
No, please continue.
The bullpen. I mean, I almost can't. I almost have no words. The bullpen management throughout the entire tenure that Dave Roberts has been manager has been just awful. And it doesn't help that they're, what I told you last night, the IL capital of the world. They just lost Edwin Rios for the year. Yep. They lost Dustin May for the year.
Gone. He gone.
Everyone's gone. It's awful. Awful.
It's a bunch of blasphemy.
It's just.
You're looking at the Dodgers head trainer right now like, there is something wrong with you.
Okay, so there's a tweet that I saw last night from Bob Nightingale. This guy,
Bob.
I blame this guy. Okay.
I blame him.
He tweeted on April 17th. The hashtag Dodgers are now 13-2. Mm-hmm. This is at midnight on April 17th. The best record by any defending World Series champion in history after 15 games. They are now on pace to go, gulp, 140-22. You know what the Dodgers' records since that tweet are?
7-15.
5-15.
Ooh.
You're close, but
I can't do math.
Still unacceptable.
Yeah.
How bad does your team have to be for your run differential to be plus 40 and you're 20-17 at almost 40 games into the year? This is terrible. I haven't watched the Dodgers in the last week. I've watched highlights, and because that call that Joe Davis had of Gavin Lux's home run the other night was the best thing to happen to the Dodgers since April 17th.
He's the GOAT. Joe Davis is
But
the GOAT.
It's just awful, man. I'm fed up.
Now, I mean, here's my thought process. You're going to school and living in Dayton, Ohio, and you're a Dodgers fan. Like, how messed up in the head do you have to be? Were you like dropped on your head as a child? Like, what's the issue here?
Coming from a guy who's a Bengals and Reds fan living in Ohio makes sense, but you're a Bengals fan and a Reds fan. Can you get any more miserable?
No. If our engineer just yelled if he was a Browns fan.
Oh my God.
I'd actually be pretty happy if I was a Browns fan. They just curb stomped the Steelers.
Live radio, folks.
Oh, my goodness.
That was probably the best thing to happen all week right there.
Yeah, and I have our YouTube feed pulled up, which is 30 seconds behind, and there it is. Yep, that's where Pat just said something, and we just go crazy. That's beautiful. Wow. That was unbelievable.
Wow.
I'm so happy.
That was great.
But no, I can't get any more miserable. You're absolutely right. I'm a college student, constantly thousands of dollars in debt. I couldn't eat food until midnight on Tuesday because I worked back-to-back jobs and didn't have time to swing through freaking Wendy's on my way down to Dayton. I am stressed out constantly, and then I get to go home, and my mental break from the world is the Reds and Bengals. It's bad. I thought Wright State was the good part of my sports fanhood, and then they blow a 24-point lead.
Yeah.
This is my life.
Oh, what it is to be a sports fan in Ohio.
I know, right? God. At least I don't go to UC. They choke like every other team in that city. I shouldn't say that. Wright State choked too, but whatever.
Well, but yeah, I mean, going back to baseball, there's just some atrocious play with the Dodgers right now.
Yeah.
Well,
now that that's out of the way, let's talk about something fun in baseball. Jared Kelenic makes his debut tonight.
Yeah. So,
not for the Dodgers, or the Reds. Mets fans have got to be so hurt today. Kelenic was their baby for years, and they gave him up in a trade for Robinson Cano.
Luis Rojas is one of those guys that you talked about yesterday that Cohen is not going to put up it. He's not going to put up with it if they go through a bad stretch.
Nope. Well, they're winning 7 in a row right now, but I mean, Kelnic's been a top prospect since the day he was drafted, and the fact that the Mets gave him up for Robinson Cano, who had 2 bad years and then got busted for PEDs. Ugh. Kelenic could be a total bust, and I still think the Mets would have lost that trade because they spent that much money.
Yeah. It's like I mean the Cardinals giving up Austin Gomber and a few other bums for Nolan Arenado.
I'm amazed the Rockies didn't get Daniel Ponce de Leon too.
The best part about that whole trade scenario is we were doing a live basketball broadcast when that news broke, and you just had to go off.
Austin Gomber, who? I hope we find that recording because that was one of the highlights.
It's somewhere.
It's hilarious.
Just
literally like coming back from halftime, we're like, all right, I got to talk baseball here for a second. Nolan Arenado gets traded for Austin Gomber, and the Rockies paid the Cardinals.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
But Kelenic, I'm excited to watch Kelenic.
Me too.
We both have MLB TV. I will be watching the Mariners tonight for sure. Kelnic's going to be a stud. I firmly believe it. Everywhere he's played in the minors, he hits 300 with a 900 OPS. He steals bases. He hits home runs. He's just a 5-tool player. And it's sad is he's not even the top outfield prospect in the Mariners system, and he's the number 4 prospect in baseball because they also have Julio Rodriguez.
So he hit 300 with a pair of homers in spring training this season.
Yep. Yeah, there were a lot of people that were ticked that he didn't make the team out of spring training. But the Mariners obviously were trying to get that extra year out of him.
So I think that lit a fire in him because he went 409.
He's not.
He's
too good for AAA.
He hit 409 with 2 more homers and 2 steals in 5 AAA games this season.
You know what my favorite part of all this is? I drafted Jared Kelenic in fantasy baseball. I've been waiting for this day.
Yeah.
I've got a new outfielder, baby.
But yeah, this is just interesting. I mean, Kelenic is one of the players that the Mariners have needed for a while.
Yes.
I think he's going to provide them with. I mean, they were good early on in the year. They've gone through a little bit of a down stretch, but yeah, Seattle's still a good team, even though they're third in that division. I mean, they're 3-7 over their last 10, but they're still. I mean, the surprise, if there's any bigger surprise, the Angels are in the basement of the West.
The Angels started off so hot too.
Yeah. It's insane. I mean, we talk about it all the time.
It's a team
that talented should not be that bad.
Trout, Ohtani, and Rendon, and then what else? I
mean, the only thing that's holding that team back is their pitching staff.
Yup.
When
Dylan Bundy's your best pitcher, there's a big problem.
Other than Ohtani, they have no other pitchers.
Ohtani, honestly, if he does this for 4 more months, he should win MVP this year.
He should. Yeah. He should. I mean, if the season ended right now, Ohtani is my MVP.
Yeah, and I'm a Reds fan, but I'd say it's Ohtani and Winker.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I would agree with you on that.
Here's a little bit of breaking news out of baseball. Ronald Acuna just rolled his ankle, stepping on the first base bag wrong here about 5 minutes ago. Had to leave the game. He did shake his leg and walk off the field without assistance. He had a very slight limp as he walked through the dugout. That's according to Mark Bowman, who covers the Braves for MLB.com. So Ronald Acuna, maybe a little bit of a sprained ankle. Hopefully he's okay, and hopefully he doesn't miss a ton of time.
So I'm just going to get something off my chest here really quick. I'm going to take about 2 minutes on this.
Go for it.
I want to complain about the lack of primetime games hosted in Indianapolis in recent memory.
After you.
So the NFL has allowed the Colts to they haven't had a primetime game in Indianapolis since I think that fake punt game against the Patriots.
It makes sense why they didn't get another one after that play call.
I mean, yeah. I mean, the Colts obviously don't deserve it, but I mean, it's just awful. And I get it. I mean, you want to host all these primetime games in these big fancy new stadiums, and I get that. But the Colts finally got a little bit of love this year with hosting primetime games. They will host the Jets in Week 9 on November 4th. That's an 8:20 game. I think that's Thursday night. But and then they'll travel to Arizona on Christmas to play the Cardinals in primetime as well.
Yep.
So that's just my 2 cents on the lack of primetime games in Indianapolis. But we said we won't talk about football anymore today. But I felt I needed to complain about that for a few minutes.
Yeah, no, I get it. I totally get it. It's something that I'm glad the Bengals don't play in primetime a lot because they suck in primetime. But I get it. I mean, you want to see your team on the big stage. I think the Bengals thrive in playing teams like the Jaguars at 1 o'clock. But I saw a stat a couple of years ago in like the Marvin Lewis era of the Bengals. They were 4-26 in games that were nationally televised, and like 116-47 in games that started at 1 o'clock.
Wow.
I know.
All right, so here's a stat that I'm just now seeing on Twitter. That's fascinating to me.
Mm-hmm.
The most strikeouts without a walk in any stretch of any season since 1893.
Yeah.
2021, Corbin Burns with 56.
Right.
2021, Garrett Cole with 56. 2002, Kurt Schilling with 56. And 2001, Greg Maddux with 53. Just pitching dominance.
Interesting. Ignore the phone.
Yeah, please ignore the phone. It doesn't ring very often, so I don't know why it's ringing when we're live on air. But
Maybe it's a caller for now.
Somebody calling in to complain about our show.
Let's go to Mark and Xenia. What's up, Mark?
But yeah. So baseball's just fascinating right now.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
And I know. Let's touch on this real quick.
How about Quincy? Just really quick thinking
Yeah.
about it. Quincy Hamilton leads the league or the country in runs scored in like 10 less games than anyone else.
Quincy Wilson is so good.
Quincy Hamilton.
Or not
Quincy
Quincy
Wilson plays for the Colts.
He doesn't even play for the Colts anymore.
Quincy Hamilton now hates you. Congratulations.
Quincy, if you're out there listening, I apologize. Quincy Hamilton is very good at baseball.
Indeed.
Yeah. So
And we actually had this debate the other night at Day Air Ballpark during the Dragons game. Is Quincy Hamilton the first Raider taken in the MLB draft this year?
He's got to be up fighting with Black for that.
He is, but Black's obviously had the injury.
With the season that Hamilton has had, I don't see why not.
I was going to say, I started watching Quincy Hamilton while he was at Centerville in high school just because I grew up 10 minutes away.
Yeah.
But I always knew he had the speed and the athleticism to be a really good outfielder. I'd never thought he'd hit like this.
No, not at all. He's hitting the leather off the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been Alex Sogard's best hitter this season
all year.
Yeah. And let's touch on this. I know we got about 2 minutes left, but the Knicks are in the playoffs.
Hey,
How about
Julius Randle sent the Knicks back to the playoffs. Let's go. Round of applause for the YouTube feed.
Great job.
Congratulations, Tom Thibodeau, Derrick Rose, Julius Randle. The gang from 2011 made it back to the playoffs in 2021.
Yeah, they did.
Congratulations.
I never thought I would see the day where the Knicks were good.
And I'll tell you what, the way they're playing right now, the Knicks, I know they're a meme. They might get out of the first round.
I don't see why not.
Yeah.
I mean, they're like the Suns last year. They were great in the rebooted NBA towards the tail end of last year. They didn't make the playoffs, but they've been great in New York. And I know Tom Thibodeau has done a great job up there in New York.
Yep.
With
I believe
the
they
Knicks.
sit 40 and 30 now with 2 games to go.
Ooh, I'd have to look up the standings real quick.
I think they're like 9 or 10 games over 500.
But it's definitely a good Knicks team. I almost said Bills for some reason. It's definitely a good Knicks.
The Bills
team.
are a good team too.
Yes. But the Knicks team. I've said it constantly over the past week. I don't watch a lot of NBA, but the Knicks are definitely up there as one of the best teams in the league right now.
Yeah.
The Pacers clinched a spot in the play-in tournament, which quite honestly they don't deserve.
I thought you had to tell me the Pacers clinched the first overall pick.
Wouldn't surprise me if they were that bad. I mean, they're atrocious.
Hey, they could be tanking for the guy who committed to Milwaukee, Patrick Baldwin Jr.
Yeah. So the New York Knicks, as we sit right now, are 38 and 31. They're in the 6th seed. The best team in the East is the 76ers at 47 and 22.
Yes.
The
best team record-wise is the Sixers.
Yeah,
the best team talent-wise is the Nets.
Yeah, no doubt about it. How about this? The Utah Jazz have the best record in the West at 50 and 20.
And the Suns are the 2 seed.
Right. So in the West, they say Utah, Phoenix, LA Clippers, Denver, Portland, Dallas are the 6. And then 7 through 10 is Lakers, Warriors, Grizzlies, Spurs.
Yep.
I never thought I'd see the day where the Thunder and Rockets are in the basement of the Western Conference.
I never thought I'd see the day where LeBron and Steph Curry are going to play each other to get into the playoffs. What? This was the finals like 4 years ago.
It's a crazy world we live in right now.
Hey, for all you people sitting at home that haven't heard and have been living under a rock for the last 24 hours, we don't talk a lot of politics on this show, and I'm not going to take a stance one way or the other, but Mike DeWine did announce yesterday that the mask mandate will be lifted on June 2nd here in the state of Ohio. Of course, it's still at the discretion of local businesses or, certain areas where you're at. They can still enforce that, but if you're out in public, that's not going to be a thing anymore here in about 3 weeks. So I know a lot of people have been excited for that day, myself included. I'm excited to just kind of get a little bit closer to normal.
Yeah, I am too. It's very exciting to see that. I know the mask has bothered a lot of people in over the past year or more of that. But
I'll tell you,
it's great to see us sort of getting back to a new normal.
My stance, I'm more than happy to put it on if I'm walking or meeting with somebody or walking around somewhere.
Sure.
Like walking to get food or something like that. I'm fine putting it on. I just need to be able to take it off when I'm in my office. That's all I really want. That's all I'm asking for. Like, if you can give me that, I'm happy.
Yeah. So, and that's one thing that I hope we will see come the fall.
I agree.
Is one, fans back at Wright State events,
and I think that's already in progress.
Yeah. So, and hopefully, good old Nick Phillips with the athletic department gives us our spot back down on the floor at the
Come on,
Center.
Nick, do us a favor,
Come
man.
on, Nick, do it for us. So, yeah. So it's really exciting to get back to whatever the new normal is now.
Yep. All right. Well, we appreciate everyone tuning in from 1 to 3 every weekday. Tomorrow, the last day of the week, of course, Friday, we will ring it in with all the latest stories in all of sports. I'm sure we'll be talking plenty of baseball, football, basketball, really you name it, and we'll talk about it. We're getting closer and closer to also starting to talk college football and college basketball around the corner as well. So a lot to dive into, and we appreciate you hanging out with us as the summer goes on. So until next time, for Parker Testa across the studio, I am Shea Neal saying keep it real with Testa and Neal. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yo, this is Shinobi Ninja, and you're listening to WWSU 106.9 FM, Fairborn, Dayton. Dayton's right choice.